U.S. political system has been built from literacy and orality. Since the founding of this country, voting has been a significant part of development and accomplishments. Literacy is foundational in voting. Political commentary and activism are directly driven by orality. But now, in the digital era, Electracy has been woven into our nation's democracy. Participatory culture has opened the minds of voters and has influenced change. Voting gives a voice directly to the people. Our nation prides itself on voting. For many, voting is seen as a way to be heard, a way to positively affect change in their communities. Every election cycle, people from across the nation come out to cast their ballots on local community issues, state issues, and of course, they vote for the president. This year, millions of Americans will decide on a Democratic nominee who will run against the incumbent Republican president.
I feel like there are a lot of people in America whose voices are unheard, and I want everybody to have a seat at the table instead of just people who look like Donald Trump.
However, voting is not equal for all. Not all voices are heard when it comes to policies. And for the disability community, this is often an issue of life or death. People with disabilities make up the largest minority population in this country. Voters with disabilities are not given a voice that matches their numbers. Politicians need to understand the inaccessibility in voting. Disability discrimination does not only include inaccessible voting places. People with disabilities are isolated from their communities and mocked by politicians.
Written by a nice reporter. Now the poor guy, you got to see this guy. Oh, I don't know what I said. I don't remember. He's going like, I don't remember. Oh, maybe that's what I said. This is 14 years ago. They didn't do a retraction.
All policy issues are disability issues. Healthcare, education, housing, immigration, climate change, social security. This devastating amount of disability discrimination in our country's political system has left traces in communities across the country. People with disabilities are fighting back. Digital media has provided a space for voters with disabilities to fight against political ableism by calling out people, politicians, and policies for their harm against the disability community, which in turn has created a web of information and connections from one voter to the next. Voters with disabilities have decided to do something about the inaccessibility and discrimination that happens in politics by creating #CryptTheVote.
Disability rights are human rights. And since, according to the U.S. Census Bureau, nearly 1 in 5 Americans have a disability, we want both campaigns and the public to take notice. And it seems the candidates are taking notice thanks to strong advocacy initiatives like the non-partisan #CryptTheVote, a campaign to bring disability rights issues into the spotlight this election.
#CryptTheVote is a nonpartisan campaign to engage both voters with disabilities and politicians about disability issues in the United States.
It came about because a lot of us within the disability community were seeing this election pass before our eyes and no one was mentioning us, even in relation to issues that had a major impact on our lives.
Created in 2016 by Alice Wong, Greg Burton, and Andrew Polrang, #CryptTheVote has left traces of digital disability activism in the physical world. Threads using the hashtag often include policy issues, ADA issues, political debates, and gives voters with disabilities a community for discussion and learning. But hashtag #CrypTheVote isn't just a platform for voters with disabilities. In this election cycle, hashtag #CrypTheVote has given voters with disabilities a direct way to interact with politicians.
We're just moments away from our first ever Twitter town hall. I'm going to be talking about my plan for equality and opportunity for people with disabilities. And I'm looking forward to chatting with everybody. So get those questions ready.
Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders have recently released disability plans with input from the disability community. History has also been made this election with the creation of the first ever American Sign Language voting caucus. However, traces of the disability community are not as well received by all Democratic presidential candidates in this election cycle. Hashtag #CrypTheVote also provides a safe, productive space for political critique and engagement.
President Biden. I am a college student and I attended regular classes all the way through high school. How will you support more inclusive education for students with disabilities?
Two things. We have a thing called the Americans with Disabilities Act. We don't fund it. It will be fully funded in my administration. And you should be integrated into all of the classes because you're smart. You're smart, you're smart. The disability does not define who you are. It doesn't define who you are.
As Dr. Sarah J. Arroyo states, Electracy can be compared to digital literacy, but encompasses much more. A worldview for civic engagement, community building, and participation. All facets that are well represented and performed by the work achieved through hashtag #CrypTheVote. This social machine has influenced laws and conventions through Twitter and leaves traces in the real world to help and support all people.